Welcome to the City Commission meeting, October 7th. Would you please call the roll, please?
Mayor McCullough.
Yes.
Commissioner Adamchak.
Here.
Commissioner Opelt.
Here.
Commissioner Motta.
Here.
Commissioner Minton. Here. Mayor, we have 5 commissioners present. The quorum of 3 is met.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have several proclamations. I'm going to start with the National Physician Consistency. There. How are you all? I'm well. Good. Excuse me. Whereas quality, cost-effective, and accessible patient-centered health care provided by a physician's assistant, or PA, contributes to the well-being and quality of life for all patients in Manhattan, Kansas, and everywhere else. And PAs are academically and clinically prepared medical professionals who diagnose illness, develop and manage treatment plans, and often serve as the patient's principal healthcare provider. And whereas PAs are often the first point of contact for many patients and play a vital role in helping them understand their medical needs and empower them to become effective advocates for their own health. And whereas a valuable asset to the medical team, PAs enhance the delivery of high-quality health care for patients, often in medically underserved and rural areas. And whereas PAs have earned the respect of the general public for their dedication and contributions to people's lives and for their commitment to team-based care and ensure delivery of effective and efficient health care services. Now therefore, I, Karen McCullough, Mayor of the City of Manhattan, do proclaim October 6th through 12th as National Physicians Assistant Week. So would you like to make comments?
Sure. Our PA program has been in service for 3 years now, and we have graduated 75 physician assistants, and we have a total of 81 out in clinicals and in the classroom. This is our class president, and we're very happy to have K-State now as one of our sponsors, because when I went to school, I had to go to Wichita. So.
We are happy to have you. Would you like to introduce her?
This is Dana Colt. She is our PA Student Society president.
Okay, Dana, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure. My name is Dana Colt. I'm the class president at Kansas State University, and I'm very proud to be celebrating the compassion, dedication, and excellence that drive the PA profession.
Thank you. Here's your proclamation. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see
Thank you
both.
for having us.
Sure.
And I'll put some goodies on the back table.
Oh, okay, great. Domestic violence. Hi there. Whereas domestic violence is a widespread public health problem impacting all demographics of Manhattan, Kansas, and perpetrators of domestic violence use illegal and legal behaviors and tactics that undermine the victim's sense of self, free will, and safety. And whereas domestic violence can have profound, lifelong impacts on the victim's health, opportunity, and well-being. And whereas 1 in 3, 35% of women, and 1 in 4, 28% of men in the United States have experienced rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. And the Kansas Bureau of Investigation reports 1 domestic violence murder occurs every 11 days, 9 hours, and 45 minutes, which would be about 3 a month. Right. And whereas across the United States, many leaders and organizations have displayed their commitment to ending domestic violence, and we must devote ourselves to protect vulnerable and at-risk members of our community. And we remind victims of domestic violence that they are not alone, that free and confidential services are available by calling the Crisis Center, which is local, Crisis Center Incorporated 24/7 helpline, 1-800-727-2785, or texting HEAL, that's capital H-E-L, to 847-411, or the Safeline Kansas helpline at 1-888-363-2287, or texting SAFE at 847-411. Now, therefore, I, Karen McCullough, Mayor of the City of Manhattan, do proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us this evening to recognize October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. My name is Kathy Ray. I'm the Executive Director of the Crisis Center, and I have Tyshell Jones, our Deputy Director, here this evening. We just want to really encourage the community to participate in creating awareness around domestic violence throughout the month. Purple is the awareness color for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We do have some events happening this month. I want to invite everyone to come to the Manhattan Town Center. We are doing the Clothesline Project. That's the first time we're doing it in our community. They are shirts that are created by victims, survivors, family members, people who have lost a loved one to this violence. We are having a community reception on October 20th. At 5:30 p.m. at the Manhattan Town Center. So hopefully we can have you all come out to help us create awareness. There's been a lot talked about domestic violence recently in the news. There was a recent murder of a law enforcement officer in Hayes. So we know that so many people are impacted directly as victims, but there are also family members, friends, law enforcement officers, others responding to this violence that it also impacts. So please join us and encourage people to reach out for help. We are available 24/7, ready to take that call. We have a number of services. We have a safe shelter. So if you or someone you know is a victim or survivor, you do not have to go through this alone. Reach out for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I would just say, I've proclaimed this about 5 times now, and I'm tired of it. I think we need to see if we can't fix this issue. And I think it's important that we as a community have a sense of our neighbors, and perhaps they're going through difficult times. We aren't asking people to spy on people, but we do really seem to not need this level of violence in our communities.
Yep.
Thank you.
Much. Thank you.
See you on the 20th.
Thank you.
Now I've got National Community Planning Month. Get all the planners up here. That's you? Yes. Okay. Whereas change is constant and affects all communities, large and small, and community planning helps manage this way in a way that provides better choices for how people work, live, and play. And whereas community planning provides opportunities for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month and is an opportunity to recognize and publicly celebrate the contributions that sound planning and thoughtful community design make to the livability, prosperity, resiliency, and equity of our communities. And whereas the participation and dedication of professional planners, planning board members, and citizens have dedicated their time and expertise to the improvement of Manhattan. And whereas the Kansas chapter of the American Planning Association will hold its 2025 Kansas Planning Conference, yay, in the Little Apple on October 16th and 17th. Now I, therefore, Karen McCullough, Mayor of the City of Manhattan, do proclaim October 2025 as National Community Planning Month. And I encourage all citizens to recognize the outstanding contributions planners play to their community this month. Thank you. Sure, absolutely, Stephanie.
So thank you for that, and thank you for recognizing October as National Planning Month, or National Community Planning Month. Planning is about shaping the future. It's about thinking ahead so that our community can continue to be connected and strong and vibrant and welcoming. And I'm proud of the dedication of our team. We only have 2 of the 7 individuals with us this evening, but they bring to life that mission every single day. With that, I want to recognize Ben Schmiel. He is a senior planner in our planning division. And then John Adam, he's our assistant director. Not with us this evening. We have John Versu. He works alongside Ben. We have Ann Gaziano. She's our assistant, or our executive assistant. Barry Beagle, and then Lance Wackerla, who are in our development review division. So with that, I appreciate it and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. We are, since it's the first meeting of the month, we do entertain public comments on any statements. These do not have to be related to an item on the agenda.
Well, good evening, Mayor McCullough and City Commissioners. My name is Mel Borst, and I reside at 1918 Humboldt Street. In consideration of the elimination of the second 3-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opposition to rezoning proposals, and the need in a quasi-judicial rezoning hearing to give applicants and opposing citizens equal opportunity to present their proposals and concerns, I request that the City Commission allow the East Park Neighborhood Coalition an opportunity to present a PowerPoint presentation when the Commission next takes up the process to vote on a proposal to rezone 300 North 11th Street and 1030 Leavenworth Street. If this is not possible, please consider expanding public comment time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes for this important hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have something for the general interest? Seeing none, commissioners? No comments?
I would like to extend my appreciation to the Manhattan Fire Department, which wound up at my house this afternoon due to a gas leak resulting from the laying of some fiber optic cable. The response was quite rapid, and I appreciate the service that and the looking after the welfare of our community and our safety. So thank you very much.
I'd just like to say there's some special things going on the weekend of the 18th at the Flint Hills Discovery Center. Children are free on, I think that's a Saturday, and there's all kinds of new things with a new exhibit. Parents do have to pay, and they have to accompany too, but please do think about that. Okay, on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are those of a routine and housekeeping nature, or items which have been previously reviewed by the City Commission, and they may be approved in one motion. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? None? Is there any public input on the consent agenda? Seeing none?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Chelsea, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Adamchak,
Yes.
Commissioner Opelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Minton,
Yes, but I need to abstain from item D1.
Mayor McCullough.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, with the exception of D1 that carried 4-0.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. We will have the presentation of the item.
Good evening, Stephanie Peterson, Director of Community Development. This evening, the item for your consideration is a project called Manhattan Infill Housing. It contains 2 sites, LK Townhomes and Lima Village. We had a work session on this maybe a month or 2 ago now, and there's been a few things that have been revised with this project, as I'm sure you're aware from your packet. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the project since it has changed. It still includes 40 units. Those units are going to be 3-bedroom, 2 baths. There are 28 units that are at the LK Townhome site and then 12 at Lima Village. There are going to be 22 for-sale units at LK and Lima Village combined, and then the 18 rental units for this project are all contained at LK. The request before you this evening is a $1.45 million grant from the Workforce Housing Sales Tax Funds. You can see the breakdown per unit and then per bedroom. The for sale, the units that are for sale, they will have an income restriction for 5 years. And if I misspeak at all, I've already told Katie, please interrupt me. She weaved 5 agreements together, so she is intimately familiar with these. But the way that works is the developer will be required by KHRC, Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, to verify the income anytime a family, an individual moves into those units. If they are there for more than 5 years, you just income qualify them that one time. If the unit changes hands, that new individual or that new family within 5 years would also be income qualified. The rental units, there's kind of 2 different ways that we're looking at these. For the first part, the first 5 years of the grant, the individuals living in those units have to be between 60 and 150% AMI, and those units would also have to be within our defined workforce range, which we have a table of, or the rental range that we are using would be, oh, I just pulled it up, I'm sorry. Missed that. I'll bring it up later if you're interested in what those rental rates would be, but it is that incentive zone rental rate that we would be using here for the rental units. And then KHRC does require monitoring for 5 years of the rental units as well as the for sale. Because of the IRB property tax abatement, we'll actually be monitoring the rental units for 10 years.
I think I know the answer to this question, but the income restriction would be a combined for the household, right?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, household income. And that rental rate for the units would be, this is a maximum, no more than $2,000 a month. As a reminder, for low-income housing tax credit, that 3-bedroom rental rate is $1,872 a month, and that would be considered 80% area median income. Continuing on with the workforce housing sales tax request, the reimbursement schedule for this grant would be 75% of that funding for that unit would go with, or for that structure would go out with the foundations and footing. And then the remaining 25% would be reimbursed to the developer with a certificate of occupancy. So with the MIH grant, the Moderate Income Housing Grant through KHRC, the city is liable for those units over the course of that 5-year period. And so one of the recommendations that staff has is to take $300,000 of that workforce housing sales tax money and set it aside, basically as a reserve. This would not go to the developer in the event that the developer does not perform under that MIH grant. The MIH grant is in total $650,000, and so this covers about half of that for that 5-year period.
Stephanie, I just had on the reimbursement, is that done by unit? It's reimbursed by?
It'll be by building because they're
building,
duplex.
okay.
Yeah, because there's multiple units.
Got it.
Correct.
I think you just turned your mic off, Karen.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No. Okay. So this right here is just a couple of times commissioners have asked for this information, just a summary of what you have already committed to as far as workforce housing, and then the requested to date would include this request before you this evening. If you recall, Bond Council started calling the residential IRBs Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds, so that's the new acronym here. The property tax abatement would be for 18 rental units. I have an approximate value there over a 10-year period. So each year, a portion of this would be abated. And then for the sales tax exemption, again, that it would only apply to the 18 rental units, and an approximate value. That value is assuming that all materials are either bought or shipped to Manhattan. And that would be, that's for not just the city's share. That would be, a majority of this would actually be impacting the state more than the city. In our IRB economic development agreements, we've been including a performance metrics table. So having developers have to meet a minimum threshold in investment, as well as the number of units that have to be leased within that workforce range. So you can see that table here. This is also in that agreement. For the property tax abatement, the developer will continue to pay taxes on on those, actually all of the lots that we're talking about this evening are currently vacant. And so collectively, they generate about $4,000 a year. And so the developer is going to pay a minimum payment each year in lieu of those taxes. And so it's broken down in the agreement you'll see, each year they have a different amount they pay, years 1 through 10. This gives you the range. And just as a note, the 22 owner-occupied units will generate around $116,000 a year in property tax as soon as they're constructed. So you can, if we go back, you can see what that abatement is, about $90,000 a year for the rentals, and about $116,000 will be generated every year on the for sale. This is a summary slide of the request before you this evening for the new request for those 40 units. I would be happy to go back through any of these slides if you had any questions.
I have 2 questions. What, do or will we have the cash on hand from that sales tax fund to pay the reimbursement? Assuming, I'm assuming all 22 houses aren't going to be built at the same time.
Correct.
But so we have currently on hand. Yeah, this was kind of confusing. Okay.
Looks like we're like 900,000 short.
Yes, so you, and Daniel or Jason can probably explain this better, but typically when we're anticipated to generate between $8 and $9 million. Mm-hmm. So if the commission wanted to, you could allocate or you could commit a decent portion of that now, knowing that those revenues are going to come in over time. So that we don't have any reason to believe that $300,000 that we'd be setting aside, or that $1.45 million that we would be committing to this project, that we wouldn't have that revenue over the next 8 years left of this tax.
Okay.
Do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Commissioner Opel, is to date we have collected about 1.9 million. We have spent about 500,000 of that.
Right.
We've committed 200 and some thousand of that. So in cash we have about 1.2 million, and we anticipate collecting about 1 million each year.
Okay.
So,
what's the requested line on that?
So that includes, that
includes
this project.
300,000 plus. Okay.
Yep.
Bingo. Okay. On that 300,000, do we have some kind of provision, or could we have some kind of provision if we ever end up having to pay that to the state that would null out or void out the property tax abatement? Or is that something that we would?
It would.
That's kind of in there.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, Katie can explain that probably further.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. The IRB Economic Development Agreement states that if we have to repay that at that point, we can eliminate the property tax abatement.
Okay.
And as well, we can pursue recovery of any funds we've already paid, and we can temporarily or permanently suspend any funds we're holding that we have not paid.
Lovely. That's why you're the lawyer.
Question, I actually got asked this question on an email about an hour or so ago. Is there any way that someone could use these properties for a short-term rental, Airbnb?
No, I believe that we have in the IRB development agreement that there's provision that these cannot be used as short-term rentals.
Okay.
So that would be for a 10-year period.
Okay, even a single bedroom out of the home?
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
No, we say that you cannot use it as a short-term rental.
Okay,
We don't
so-
define whether it's a
so,
bedroom.
I mean,
double
that's a
unit.
very definitive answer. You can't
Yeah.
even use a single bedroom in there, so.
Yeah.
Which I think that's something interesting to talk about, right? Like if there's a family living in a house.
They could use the income.
Right.
I think Katie's going to add something too.
I just wanted to add that the state requires the filing of a restrictive covenant so that its requirements are met, and we did add the short-term rental prohibition to that restrictive covenant. So in addition to it being in the IRB, it'll be, the restricted covenant will be on every lot that says it cannot be used as a short-term rental.
For how, is it just for the 5 years or 10 years?
It's for the period of the IRB.
Okay, so the 10 years, okay.
No other questions?
And then maybe this was a question for after public comment, but do we want to go over the financials of the development again? I know we've kind of gone through it during like the RHID process and stuff. Is that something that we feel like we need as a commission?
We do have the developers.
You mean Tyler's presentation?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, he has
Okay.
yeah.
If you want to hear those.
From whom? From Tyler or from?
Yeah, I just was asking the group if that's something that we feel like we want to go over again, or if we have talked about it. I mean, we've talked about this project several times, so is that something that we feel like we need to do tonight? I do still want to hear from the
Yeah, I
developer.
can tell you. I mean, if you're asking if I need to go through as a group for the decision-making process, no. But if you're suggesting just to collectively review them, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay. Cool.
I think at this time, do we have questions of Tyler, or do we want to?
I believe the developer is present and is preparing to make a presentation for you all this evening.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Tyler Holloman, here again tonight to talk to you about the Manhattan Infill Housing Project, which Commissioner Upheld, as you know, or as you just said, we've talked about this a lot. I think staff has done a good job at kind of recapping where we're at. But we did prepare a couple slides that I wanted to run through tonight that I think would just be helpful during your review of the request that you have before you. I know you've seen this timeline before, but I do think this is important. We just kind of want to talk through, how this project started, where we've been, and kind of how we arrived where we're at tonight. So this did start back in 2023. The city had been trying for several years to dispose of some property that was city-owned that had a lot of grading and infrastructure challenges on it. Frontier did respond to the city's RFP, and we entered into a pre-development agreement with the City Commission to begin exploring options for how to envision and develop something on that city-owned site. So we began that work in 2023. In 2024, Gavin and I started working together, and we put 2 additional sites under contract. The Little Kitten site and the site that shall not be named, and we began working on how we could encompass that all into one workforce housing application. Also throughout that year, we we continued working with the city on design processes, different replatting. We actually went through a rezoning of the Lee Mill Village site. So all of that work happened in 2024. We also approached you all about applying for KHRC funding. And so we did that late 2024. In February of 2025, so February of this year, KHRC announced the statewide funding sources of their MIH and KHITC program. Manhattan was selected as one of 15 communities across the state to have received those funds. So we were really excited. We were really on track to, initially we're on track to start the project this fall. So we received that funding. We were full speed ahead with the RHID, which was the second component to this project. But in June of this year, that RHID was denied by one of the 3 jurisdictions with veto power. And so that put a big question mark on the project. So since then, we have reworked the project budget. We approached you all during a work session over the summer about the revised project financials and what it looked like with the RHID removed. Obviously the significant component of that is the sales tax funding source. And the only thing that has changed since then, besides for getting official documents and working through the details with the city, was that we have removed the park site from the project. So the project still has 40 units. It took a little bit of work, but we were able to re-engineer and reimagine the Little Kitten and the Lee Mill Village site to accommodate the full 40 units. They're still, the same unit type. They're still the same size. They're still 3-bedroom, 2-bath with garages. But we were able to work with the architect team and design team to accommodate those 40 units across those 2 sites. In your packets, there is a financial analysis on the 18 the 18 rental units. That's a requirement of the IRB process. But what I thought what we wanted to do tonight is just kind of talk a little bit about the 22 homeowner units. So of the 40 units, 22 of those units are dedicated as homeowner units. Those will be built and sold to qualified households. There is no sales tax or property tax abatement proposed on those 22 homes. 12 of those are at Lee Mill, so all 12 lots at Lee Mill Village are dedicated as for sale homeowner housing. And then we have 10 lots at the Little Kitten site that are proposed as homeowner units. Again, both of those sites have been undeveloped since they have been platted. This middle box I thought was really interesting, and I actually had to go back and double check to make sure this was right because it seemed so low, but the total across all 22 sites, the total 2025 taxes is under $3,000. The city portion of that is right at $1,000. So the city is currently making or receiving $1,000 in revenue from these 22 sites. The annual taxes at 318, the annual taxes would be around $122,000. City portion of that, $42,000. That was just, I went onto the city's website, plugged in 318 times 22, and that's how I arrived at those numbers. But again, a pretty powerful figure there, 42x increase from the $1,000 currently being received to the new city portion. And then again, over a 10-year period, that equates to just under $500,000 for the city portion of the property tax revenue on the homeowner units. And again, with no sales tax exemption, that will be an estimated sales tax on construction materials of just under $360,000. Zooming out a little bit and looking at all 40 homes, again, we do have a proposal before you tonight for 18 of those to have a tax abatement. 22 of those we just talked about taxable immediately. Results in a total property tax of $1.34 million over 10 years. That would be primarily driven from the 22 homeowner units. And then after the abatement period ends, those 18 rental units after that 10-year period would come online, roughly $120,000 a year. What that looks like in total on years 11 and on would be about $266,000. That is making some assumptions. There's I think a 2% appreciation factor. I mean, there's some variables that go into that, but roughly a $266,000 annual property tax on the full project. MIH, and I know has been discussed about the requirements that the state does impose on those grant agreements. I know most of you are familiar with Frontier, but I did want to just kind of talk a little bit about our experience and what we've done. So again, headquartered here in Manhattan since being founded in 2013. We're headquartered here in Manhattan, but we do have experience with multiple municipalities. We've worked with a lot of different cities and counties on these different funding sources. Thankfully, we do not currently manage 2,000 units, but we have in the past managed a residential portfolio of close to 2,000 units, and we've developed close to 200 units from the ground up. I went back through and reviewed similar KHRC funded projects, and we have 8 projects in other communities that are all in good standing that include funding awards from KHRC, such as the MIH, RLF, or KHITC. And again, we've tried to really specialize in delivering workforce housing and delivering on complex and complicated projects for the cities that we work in. And so we have experience layering in these different funding sources and and kind of the alphabet soup that is sometimes required to make these projects work. Lastly, we just want to end with, what does a yes vote mean tonight? I know, again, we've talked about this project a lot, but first and foremost, a yes vote tonight means that we have a project that's advancing that's going to deliver 40 affordable homes for our community. It means prioritizing infill, which we've talked a lot about, prioritizing infill, walkable locations with no specials. I think it's worth noting that no request before you tonight has an impact on the general fund. So these are targeted funds or tax abatements. There is 22 homes that we've talked about that are generating taxes, both sales tax and property tax, immediately. A yes vote also means that the first MIH and KHITC project in the city of Manhattan would advance. And then finally, it would mean backing a project that has received significant community support. Gavin and I have talked with a lot of different agencies, a lot of different entities over the life of the pre-development of this project. And we've received really a broad consensus of support. The project has been underwritten by the Department of Commerce, by Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. It has received board approval, been presented at and received board approval by the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce and USD 383, and it's received letters of support from significant community employers such as Manco, as WTC, as Meadowlark, as Kansas State University. So many regional employers have looked at this and said this is a good project, this is a project that's needed in our community. And so we're excited to be standing, hopefully, at I guess, the starting point of what we believe would be a really transformational project for the community. So with that, I know you've got a lot in front of you right now, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. But again, appreciate the continued dialogue and the chance to come talk to you about this tonight.
Questions for the presentation? I guess there are none.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now open a public hearing. Members of the public are off. Please join us and give your name and address.
This work? Yep. Good evening. My name is Larry Fox, and I live at 2330 Grandview Terrace. I'm here to speak in favor of this project, but I'm opposed to the 10-year tax abatement. Why am I opposed? First of all, we're being told that the total cost of the project is $14.5 million for 40 units or 64,000 square feet, which is $226 a square foot of living space. Last year, when this developer requested subsidies for a project on the same site, the total cost for that project was $212 per square foot. The developer approached this body a couple of months ago with a proposal for 40 units of housing spread out over 3 sites that also had a total cost of $14.5 million. One of those sites was the East Park neighborhood site that added an estimated $500,000 of cost to the project that was included in that $14.5 million figure. That property is no longer in the project, so the total cost should be reduced by at least $14 million. Given these figures, I believe a total cost estimate of about $215 a square foot or $13.75 million is a more reasonable cost estimate. Then at the end of the project, after the 40 units are built and 22 of them are sold, the developer will continue to own and rent out 18 units. They will be valued at least $5.7 million or $318,000 a unit. Per the development agreement, they will rent them for $200 a month below market rates for 10 years. That's a cost to the developer of $432,000 that needs to be factored into the equation. In summary, the developers are getting $1.85 million in state grants. They're receiving a performance grant from the city of $260,000 for the Lee Mill Village lots that staff didn't mention in their presentation. They want a city sales tax grant of $1.45 million and a sales tax abatement valued at $320,000. That is $3.88 million of upfront subsidies, or $90,000 per unit, Then they're going to sell 22 units for $318,000 each. Subtracting 7% for selling expenses, they'll net $6.5 million. All of this leads to a net effective cost for the 18 units after all the subsidies and sale proceeds of $3.8 million, which means they will realize total equity of $1.9 million for their 18 units, or 34% of the final value at the end of the project before the 10-year tax abatement. So why do they need the 10-year tax abatement that will cost the taxpayers $1 million over 10 years? Thank you.
Other public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Gary Oles. I live at 3308 Frontier Circle. Larry's comments, ouch, something to think about. Of course, I know you don't really have a timeline to think about it because this is the go time. I'm sure you'll approve it. The only thing that I ask is in the future, if possible or necessary, to help the citizens understand the numbers. In this situation, all you should really care about, in my opinion, staff may disagree, is the sales tax revenue for the city. What's mentioned here is the total sales tax revenue for the school district and for the county. Nobody cares about that. With regards to this decision, it has to do with the revenue, property tax revenue, that will be collected for the city. So it's just an ancillary comment when future presentations come up. And he did a great job of breaking it down with regards to how much property tax revenue you'll receive, the city will receive. That's all my comment.
Thank you. Other comments from the public?
Andrew Von Lintel, 225 Four Winds Court. I mean, this is an example of, we wasted a lot of time on this and a lot of city staff time, and we caused drama, and the East Park thing has been just insane. We've got to be more careful on how we operate, what we do, talk to people before we do things. I mean, getting ourselves into a legal battle and then continuing, and then it's, keep it simple.
Thank you. Any other public? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Would the applicant like to make any further comments? Okay, thank you. Commissioners, would you have questions for staff or like to discuss this item?
I did have written down here about any changes to existing agreements, because I know we did do some agreements for infrastructure and things like that in the Lemuel Village. Was that coming out of workforce housing? Okay.
No, we didn't do that one out of that. No, that was not coming out of workforce housing. You'll have to, thank you. It was
Okay.
EcoDevo.
Okay. And then, because none of the other agreements had been executed yet, so are those getting kind of rolled in together, or?
For Lee Mill Village?
Yeah.
So that had been executed. It was linked in the packet from August 20th of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
We're amending that. I believe it was just to change the entity name
Okay.
because of the MIH grant being under a different entity to link that project.
Okay. Sorry, there's a
That's
lot
okay.
coming
There is a
together,
lot
and
in this
yeah.
packet. Yes.
Okay, that was the last question that I had.
I would just like to acknowledge the additional cost-benefit analysis that was included in tonight's packet, which also includes the impact of other revenues to the city through the development of these projects, including stormwater, water, sorry, kind of blanking here, licensing fees, et cetera, et cetera. So there are other revenues that will be generated in addition to the expenditures by occupants of these households, which is not being generated right now when we're sitting on 40 empty lots. And so I just want to acknowledge that there are other factors beyond those that have been mentioned by the commenters this evening.
Yeah, and something else I wanted to add was that I don't know about the Lee Mill Village lots, but I do know the lots on Little Kitten have lost value, at least since last year. I don't know how far back it goes because that's not on the GIS website. But they are now in a state where they are losing value year after year. And without some kind of development, that's not going to stop. So I consider that part of my decision-making, that like, without something changing, they're going to continue to lose value, and we will collect even less than $1,000 a year from them. So at least we are stopping that decrease, and we'll still collect what we're getting today from those lots. Even, you know, from the abated lots, we'll get what we're getting today, and it's not going to get any less. And then we're essentially taking the workforce housing sales tax and shifting it into property taxes that we'll be receiving from that development, which will then go into the general fund and kind of help us in that way. So it's.
Sorry.
Share with the group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
She was asking me, go ahead.
I was asking a question.
That was
the-
very impolite, I apologize.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I
Was
thought
it city business?
Yes.
Yes. My comment was just going to be, I'm aware of how rapidly the units that were built in Lee Mill Village over the last 4 years were sold. Those,
Manhattan Housing Partnership.
that's
What she was asking.
I was
me.
asking the name of the
Oh, okay.
organization. So those properties sold as quickly as they were being constructed, and I don't see any reason to believe that the units that are proposed in this project would linger on the market either. I think they're meeting a very important need in the community for units of that size and in a desirable location.
I think I have to correct you, the Manhattan Area Housing Partnerships, they're not sold, they rent, they're
Are they
rented.
rented?
Mm-hmm.
They're occupied.
They're
very
full,
quickly.
yes, absolutely.
But there are some other
Yeah.
units along that, in that area that are sold, and sold quickly.
Yeah, no,
Thank you for the
yeah,
correction.
no, it works on tax credits. After a certain period of time, and I think it's 10 years, it might be 15, those properties are paid off, and the people who live there have first refusal.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on top of that, this year to date, Manhattan has had 642 closings. Average or median days on market was 10, and median sale price was $308,000, which is 10% higher than it was last year. So I agree, Susan. I don't see in that data a reason to believe that these will not sell very quickly.
Okay. Does city staff have anything they'd like?
One additional, Mayor. Jason Hilgers, Deputy City Manager. Just wanted a point of clarification on Lee Mill Village. We had indicated in the memo the general fund would come up with that $260K. I think there were a couple reasons and a couple strategies we had at that point in time. It's about a little over a year ago. But I think we recognized the Eco-Devo funds for what that money was going to be used for weren't going to necessarily fit with the public infrastructure and the private utilities. But we also talked about the money we receive annually from K-State as a payment for the NISTAC KSU IC building. That money comes in and we can move that into the general fund. And I think we gave you that opportunity to realize that revenue would be coming from a different source, but find its way into the general fund to pay for this, where that flexibility lies. Just wanted to make that point.
Okay. I think we've learned a lot in this process, and I think we'll possibly be a little more efficient in the future. I would, however, caution us to be very, very careful in the future that we follow the comprehensive land use plan, that we don't try and put things where they don't really fit. And we also look out in the future a bit for the fact that I don't think the economy is going to be in any way the shape it is in this country. The Wall Street Journal says Kansas is the third most likely state to see serious recession with agricultural policies and some of the tariffs and that kind of thing. So, you know, we don't think about the sort of the tumbleweed effect of our local farmers and ranchers not being able to sell their grains, particularly sorghum in Kansas. Soybeans, yes, and that is going to mean there's going to be fewer people shopping places like Marysville, and Marysville's not going to be shopping here as much. So I think we really need to be very, very cautious in our future attempts. Saying that, and I think there's no more questions, I would call for a motion from the commission, and we have to make this 3 motions for each one of the actions.
Do we have to read them all?
Yep.
Let's take turns. Okay. I move that we approve resolution number 100725C, determining the advisability of issuing multifamily housing revenue bonds for the LK Townhomes site, and authorize execution of an economic development agreement for the property tax abatement with Frontier Development Group LLC, Frontier Construction LLC, and Manhattan Infill Housing LLC for the LK Townhomes site.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Chelsea, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Opelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Minton,
Yes.
Mayor McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamchak.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, B.
I move that we authorize the mayor and city administration to execute an agreement with Kansas Housing Resources Corporation for a moderate income housing grant for LK Townhomes and Lee Mill Village sites, and a cooperative agreement between the city and Frontier Development Group LLC, Frontier Construction LLC, and Manhattan Infill Housing LLC.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Commissioner Minton,
Yes.
Mayor McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamchak,
Yes.
Commissioner Opelt.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Who wants to do C? Jamie?
I move we authorize execution of a workforce housing sales tax grant agreement with Frontier Development Group LLC, Frontier Construction LLC, and Manhattan Infill Housing LLC for LK Townhomes and Lee Mill Village sites, and amend the land transfer and development agreement between the city and Frontier Development LLC for the Lee Mill Village site.
Second.
Again, Chelsea?
Commissioner Minton,
Yes.
Mayor McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamchak,
Yes.
Commissioner Opelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We will now move on to the general agenda and consider adopting a comprehensive zoning map revision.
I do not have a presentation for you. I just have this map that was in the staff report. This comprehensive land use zoning map revision is really pertaining to a lot of city-owned properties or USD-owned properties. So everything that you see here in that turquoise color, that is either a city-owned property or a school district-owned property, and they're being rezoned to PI2, Public Institutional 2. Maybe a year ago now, we rezoned most of our open space and parkland to PI1, but there were a few sites that we didn't catch as part of that, or a couple of new parks. So anything in that lime green color, that is rezoning those tracts to PI1. This includes some areas around the levee, as well as some of the buyout properties from flooding. With that, there's two. Let me jump down to this map and then I'll come back up. We are giving the airport a zoning district. It has been unzoned since it was annexed, so it is going to be PI2. And then this tract right here is the Veterans Cemetery. It's state-owned and operated, and so it would fall within that category as well. Right now, I believe it's zoned business park, which doesn't make sense because it's a cemetery. And then running back up to this table, Two tracts I wanted to call out specifically. One is down here, right off of Miller Parkway. This tract is part of Stonehaven. It was annexed several years ago now, and the zoning failed on that item, and it's been unzoned for maybe 4 or 5 years now. And the MDC requires that any annexed land into the city has to have a zoning district. If they fail to do so, I believe it's within 90 days, we will automatically zone it land reserve. So that is what we are proposing to zone this unzoned tract to.
Stephanie, is that the corner lot that's near the?
Arbor Drive. Arbor Drive.
Right, okay, so where there had been proposed putting a gas station or something?
Correct, that was the proposal. Well, I mean, it was a straight zoning district, but there was talk of a gas station. So yes, it's here's Arbor Drive. That's the same tract that you're referring to. So land reserve district, it does not allow for any building permit to be issued. It basically allows any use that is existing there to continue, but any improvements or changes would have to go through this rezoning process to identify a different zoning district.
I think they were talking about a retirement area there too, a retirement.
That one's further to the north, I believe.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Stephanie, there was one site in Burgundy, was that?
Yes, yeah. Are we good on, okay. Yep, and then scrolling back over, the other one I wanted to point out. This is all city-owned land or right-of-way. This is zoned industrial commercial services. And everything around it to the west and to the north is downtown commercial district. Somehow this never got rezoned. We're not really sure the history there, but this includes a lot of right-of-way. The train station or the depot is right here, and then there's some kind of remnant tracks, likely from when they built the bridge or realigned the bridge to this location. So we're proposing to take that from ICS to the downtown commercial district. And that's the brief history we know of how this ended up ICS.
Okay. Questions? Comments from the public?
Just Jacob.
Name and, yeah.
Yeah, Jacob Stoltz. I live at 4514 Freeman Road. What does the blue mean? Like,
Those are mostly schools.
oh, so mostly like just schools, government
Parks.
property, just kind of stuff like that.
You can kind of see the high school and the, yeah.
No. And then the green is just like, I guess, open spaces. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Stephanie, do you want me to correct me on it? Great. Mel, do you have some comment?
Mel Borst again. Not a comment, just a question. I see that this Southeast Park is all green now, and a part of that used to be zoned industrial. A couple of years ago it was, anyway. And so I just wanted to verify that that is now zoned as parkland all the way to the west border of the park. And it looks like by the green I see that that's the case, but I was just curious if that's.
Stephanie, can you answer that question?
So the red line is where city limits stops. This right here is private property, so everything that's reflected in green is what the city owns, and it would be zoned PI1, going from the industrial commercial services zoning district. Again, we don't know the history of why this was industrial commercial services, same as this tract, but it would be zoned as that PI1 open parkland.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Commissioners? Motion?
Move that we approve ordinance number 7782, adopting a comprehensive zoning map revision that includes zoning several tracts of land within the city to public/institutional district, downtown commercial district, or land reserve district.
Chelsea?
Second.
Gotcha. Beat you.
Commissioner Mayor McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamchak,
Yes.
Commissioner Opelt,
Yes.
Commissioner Motta,
Yes.
Before we
Commissioner
had,
Minton.
yeah,
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I'm really trying to move this along. Danielle, we have a work session next Tuesday. Will the audit be on that?
We do not have a work session scheduled for next Tuesday, actually. The audit, I believe, I will kick it to Finance Director Neal. When is that going to be ready? We can give a quick update on the audit? Thank you, appreciate that.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The audit is complete, it's final. It has been turned into Moody's so they can post on Emma. We do still need to meet as the Municipal Audit Board so they can review and then present to you all. So that should be scheduled within the next week or so. We would probably have it on the 21st for approval.
Okay.
Rena,
ma'am.
when you say the audit is complete, did we receive the additional information you were waiting on from Manhattan Housing Authority?
It's final, everything is final.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I
And the Housing Authority did meet their deadline to HUD, which was September 30th. They were unaware they needed to get it here any earlier. So at the board meeting, we let them know, and so instructed them to the next year to have it in August and get it done. I think it might have been, I mean, the city's audit has been late for a number of years, so I think with changes of administration, they just didn't know they needed to get it in sooner.
Thank you.
You know, I think that this commission really kind of needs a few more work sessions. We keep canceling them. It seems to me that that might be a good time to hear from the neighborhood association. I doubt if they wanted more than a half an hour, but we really need to build trust with some of our neighborhoods. And also, I had a question about foundations, and not that I am in any way doubting that they're all doing a good job, but it just seems to me it'd be great to have some clarification on just how they are funded and who is in charge of the outflow and that kind of thing. But I would ask my other commissioners.
On the what, Karen? Sorry, I didn't ask, on how the what was?
Well, like we've got the Park and Recs, we've got the Zoo Foundation.
Oh, I'm sorry, we
Yeah.
were talking about some housing stuff, so when you said foundations, I was like, what are we okay.
Sorry. You know, I just, people ask me sometimes when they give money, you know, some of it's through the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, some of it's not. Who signs the checks? I mean, for the new Park and Recs Foundation, I mean, have they endowed it? To me, there's just a lot of sort of little questions.
Yeah, I think that there is definitely an opportunity for us to share from the foundations and try to work with them. And we obviously need to work with their presidents and their groups and see what their schedules look like if they were wanting to come in and to share and to report some of that information out to the commission. If the commission is interested in having those work sessions, I would recommend that we do that in January.
Yeah, I think you need to give them a little time to get ready, but I know I'm on the Zoo Trust. I think they'd be happy to come and
Yeah, well,
tell you what's going on.
I don't think it has to be that complicated. I mean, I think Scott could tell us. It's just.
Well, I
guess
think
some
that,
of
I think that's where, you know, I think it's good to get it from the actual trust, because they are independent.
Yeah, they're independent, but the Flint Hills Discovery Center isn't. And some of them are with the community, I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't see any reason to sort of sit around and.
Yeah, I do, the Flint Hills Discovery Center is separate, as is the Parks Foundation. And so we could certainly talk to those boards. I know that they are very active in our community. I know that they are very, very passionate about the work that they do and the time that they commit. So I'm sure, like Commissioner Amata said, that they'd be very happy to come and talk to you all. We just need to work with them and see what their schedules look like, and that will probably be in January that we could get that going.
I've been on the Flint Hills Discovery Center board for quite a while, and I'm not on it anymore. But they are expected to come up with some dollars for the city every year for Park and Rec. So I just would like to clarify this, but. Okay.
May I make a motion that we adjourn? But I mean, aren't we
All in
supposed to
favor?
say all in
Aye.
favor?
All,
Here, here.
Aye.